Hello everyone! This hour on Verbling, the next in my Great Short Stories class, we're on Great Short Stories, short story number 15, Delmore Schwartz's In Dreams Begin Responsibilities, part 2. And in the last class, we saw a little bit of background about Swartz. We listened to a little bit of the Velvet Underground to hear some influences, and then we began to read the story. So we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll probably read the rest because it's short, and then we'll be discussing it in the second half of the class. Well, that's a bit about my class. Here's a bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour, and I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out from Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. Here are 3 quick rules to help you participate in my class. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so that we can keep the classroom nice and quiet. Tune in to the new words that you're learning when you are speaking so that I can give you feedback and correct you. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And this is our story, which I'm going to share with you right now. Hold on a second. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, there we go. Wow, look at all the people in here. I can barely hear myself with all these people.
It's me?
Oh, it's just you, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe it's a holiday today. It's a holiday from Delmore Schwartz. I don't know. Well, let's do this, Yuki.
Yes.
There's Raphael. Okay, everything's okay now. Let's do this. I think, and there's Shafar. Okay. We're back to normal. I think in the last class, we read just was it section 1? The story is divided into, I think, 5 parts. And I think we read the first part or the first and second. Do you remember? Because I can't remember exactly. I know where we stopped in the story, but I can't remember exactly which part we stopped at. Was it just part 1? What do you think, Yuki?
Yes, yes. I hear you.
Yes, but what about the question I asked?
Sorry, could you repeat again?
So, did we read only part 1 of the story?
We read, I think, in until the end of second section, maybe. No?
Okay. Maybe you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Right?
You're right. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, yes, second section, maybe. No.
You're right. Okay.
Right?
No, you're right. We're starting the beginning of part 3. You're right.
Sorry, I have a question. I have one question. In the end of second section, there is such a sentence.
There is this kind of sentence.
This kind of sentence. Sorry, 30. His brother is in the second floor, and he's for sorry, just a minute. He has dead for 30 years, maybe. Wait.
You're in section 2 of the story?
Section 2, maybe. 2. Yes. His brother, his father's older brother, he's studying
I remember now.
Bedroom upstairs, studying for his final examination at the College of the City of New York, having been dead of rapid pneumonia for the last 21 years. What does it mean, having been dead for the last 21 years? What after want to say here? I think.
By the way, just tell me where we are in the
Fine?
story. I remember that. I remember that, but tell me where we are so I can find it and put it on the screen.
His father has been invited
what page are we?
His mother's house, and he.
Well, wait. What page? What page are we on?
Page number. Page 4.
4. Okay. Okay. Hang on a second.
Second paragraph of second chapter.
Okay. Why don't I see it? Second paragraph. So it begins with the first paragraph is finally. The second paragraph is my father and mother depart. Right?
Yes. After describe about his father's brother, older brother.
Look, yes. It's this.
I couldn't understand this.
Okay, it's this one on screen, right? Can you see? He is in blue.
No, I can't see screen.
Can't see the screen?
I can see screen, but nothing displayed in the screen.
I'm not.
So it's working right. Yes, fine. Because I'm reading that. Highlighted in blue.
Yeah, exactly. You should see it in blue. He is studying in his bedroom upstairs, studying for his examination at the College of the City of New York.
Yes.
Having been dead. Well, if it's the present perfect, then you know it has to do with the past.
It means that his brother already dead in this moment.
Well,
in the moment in the film, and what does it mean for the last 21 years? It means he is 21 years old, or it is 20 years old recently.
I'll defer the question to Carmen.
What I understand here is he's been dead for the last 21 years. He died of pneumonia.
At the time of watching the film.
I don't understand the meaning for the last 21 years.
Because we're watching the film now. We're watching the film right now. And the film takes place perhaps 21 years ago, or the film takes place many years ago, and between the film and now, he dies of pneumonia. So it's the future of the film, but it's the past of now. So we don't really know when now is, do we? We don't know exactly when now is. We don't know where we are in time.
Where his brother or his father's brother has died.
All we know is when? We don't know, but we know it happened after 1909, when the film takes place, and before the present. So after this film, but before now, somewhere in between, 21 years ago from now.
Film takes place
in 1909.
21 years ago?
No, I think the film takes place a lot longer ago.
Yes, I think so. It means his brother 20 years old?
No. We don't know how old
he has died. Or
No, because it says for the last 21 years.
Yes.
For the last doesn't mean he's 21 years old. He having died of having been dead. He has been dead for 21 years.
That's it.
He has been dead for 21 years. 21 years before the present moment of now, of the person
before
remembering the scene. Yeah, before now.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
But that brings up a larger question. Where and when are we? Let's do this. We can't continue until we have a little summary of what we've read so far, because I'm not sure if Raphael and Shafar, you were here in the last class. I don't remember.
I looked up Russian translation, but it is translated that he has died at 21 years old. So
then that is a bad translation.
Mistake. Now I see. Thank you very much.
Wait, Raphael, were you in the previous class where we read the beginning of the story?
No.
Okay. Okay, no problem. And Shafar, were you here? I can't remember. Let me just double check. Shafar, were you here in the last class where we read the beginning of the story?
No, I think.
Okay. Carmen, were you here?
No, I wasn't here either.
Okay. So, Yuki.
Yes.
I need you to give us a very brief summary of what's happening, but very brief, because we don't have a lot of time. So, what do you think that Carmen, Raphael, and Shafar need to know in order to go on to part 3 of the story? What's basically going on?
They need to know that protagonist of this story now sitting in the theater, seeing motion picture film. It is a film of the past. It is a film describe how his father and mother get acquainted with each other. Father was in the film. Father was now go to mother's house to go out.
So he's meeting the father who are watching in the movie is meeting the mother's parents.
For the date.
His parents and his for a date, basically.
And firstly, the father was invited to the house, and he met with his mother's family. Mother's father, it means protagonist grandfather, evaluate father as a good finance of his
as a good fiance.
Good fiance of his mother.
Right. Okay. And did you get the impression that they approve of him?
I don't know. It is not described much, but I think it went pretty good. I think.
Okay.
Not so big problem with mother's father. And after that,
we have to cut it short here. Hold on a second. So, the only thing I would add to what Yuki said is keep in mind time is a very strange thing so far in the story, because our protagonist isn't remembering these events. He's watching them on a movie screen, and not any kind of movie screen. An old silent film where the movie flickers and the speed isn't quite right and it's black and white, and there's a pianist playing, or an organist playing an organ or a piano, I can't remember, that's creating the soundtrack for the film. So it's a very odd way of remembering your childhood. Well, it's not even his childhood. This is before he was born. So time is handled in a very unusual way in the story. It's a little bit surreal, a little bit. And so all we know is he's remembering or watching a film. We don't know when and where he is. And he also, at the very end of the last part, he's in New York. He's remembering things that happened before he was born in the form of a film. And he begins to cry at one point, which is very odd. So we're taken out of the film. He begins to cry, and he's told to shut up by a nasty old woman next to him because she's disturbing her. And it's not really explained what's going on. So I think that's pretty much where we left off. Is that more or less clear, everyone? If there's any questions, ask now, okay? Or ask at any point, doesn't matter. But is that more or less clear what's going on so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? All right.
And now, father and mother depart from the house, and they now went to the beach, and they are now in the beach.
They are? When did that happen? They went to the beach? Oh, you mean they went to Coney Island?
Coney Island.
They went to the amusement park. Coney Island is the big amusement park.
But his mother doesn't like amusement, riotous amusement. So they just went along the boardwalk on the. They just.
I think that's the next part. But I think that's the next part, Yuki.
Yeah?
I don't think we read that yet.
I
don't think we read that yet.
A little.
Oh, we didn't. Well, it's pretty short, so let's start reading. Okay, it's pretty short, so let's start reading, and let's see if we can have our discussion during the class this time, rather than after. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's go from left to right. So, Carmen, you have been elected to read first.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to go around, each taking a paragraph. Are you ready, Carmen? Starting in section 3, part 3 of our story.
Okay, they walk towards the boardwalk, and my father commands my mother to inhale the pungent air from the sea. They both breathe in deeply, both of them laughing as they do so. They have in common a great interest in health, although my father is strong and husky, and my mother frail. Their minds are full of theories of what is good to eat and not good to eat, and sometimes they engage in heated discussions of the subject, the whole matter ending in my father's announcement, made with a scornful bluster, that you have to die sooner or later anyway. On the boardwalk's flagpole, the American flag is pulsing in an intermittent wind from the sea.
Sorry, my computer was having a little problem there. How would you describe, if you had to hear the voice of the father, what would it sound like, Carmen?
I don't know how to put on voices. I don't know.
Well,
but husky, because he's got a husky voice.
I know, but what does that mean?
Like a dark voice. Like
my voice.
For instance, yes.
He kind of talks like this.
Okay,
he's a manly man.
That's the one, absolutely.
Husky voice, right. Okay. And can you picture your parents talking to each other like this when they first met?
But I don't know why they're talking about food. What is that? I don't know why.
Because they got nothing else to talk about.
Okay, then.
Because
I see.
Because they're out on a date, but they're being observed by her parents, and maybe they can't be themselves, or maybe they don't know each other that well. It's hard to say. So that they have to talk about what they can talk about. And I'm asking this because I think it's important, the father's character, because it keeps coming up. My father is strong. Although my father is strong and husky, my mother frail. Mindful theory, blah, blah, blah. We just get this feeling here and before in the description that he's sort of this turn-of-the-century guy. He looks up to William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper magnate, and he seems like kind of this mountain man. I don't know, or he's trying to be. So there's some kind of, it's almost like a stereotype. I just bring it up because it seems to be to keep coming up in the description. All right, let's keep going. We got
I'm sorry, I've got this word. When it says scornful, I know that word, but bluster? What is bluster? Scornful bluster.
Hold on a second. What was it? There, I got it.
Yeah.
The whole. I think it's just sort of like a lot of noise. The whole matter ending in my father's announcement, made with a scornful bluster, like blowing hot air. In other words, I don't think so. If he can't win the argument, he just kind of ends it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it says they're full of theories, they engage in heated discussions, and well, that's just the way it is, and he moves on. Maybe something like that. So maybe it's not one for engaged, enlightened discussion. Hard to say.
Okay.
I'm going to just separate these paragraphs so we have some equal reading here. Okay, Raphael, why don't you continue? Let's find out what happens next.
Yeah.
Can you see where we are?
But from where?
All the text in blue?
All the text from my father and mother? Yeah.
Yeah.
My father and mother go to the rail of the boardwalk and look down on the beach, where a good many bathers are casually walking about. A few are in the surf. A peanut whistle pierces the air with its pleasant and active whine, and my father goes to buy peanuts. My mother remains at the rail and stares at the ocean. The ocean seems merry to her. It pointedly sparkles, and again the pony waves are released. She notices the children digging in the wet sand, and the bathing costumes of the girls who are her own age. My father returns with the peanuts. Overhead, the sun's lightning strikes and strikes, but neither of them are at all aware of it. The boardwalk is full of people dressed in their Sunday clothes and idly strolling. Idly strolling. The tide doesn't reach as far as the boardwalk, and the strollers would feel no danger if it did. My mother and my father lean on the rail of the boardwalk and absently stare at the ocean. The ocean is becoming rough. The waves
rough.
Is becoming rough. The waves come in slowly, tugging strength from far back. The moment before they somersault. The moment when they arch their backs so beautifully, showing green and white veins amid the black. That moment is intolerable.
Yeah, I have no idea why that moment is intolerable. I have no idea. Can you picture this scene? The writing is just like it's just like the movie that we're watching, except for one thing. What do you notice about the colors? Oh, you weren't here last week. I forgot. There's been a change because the movie that we're watching, this scene from 1909, is supposed to be black and white. But but it's not black and white anymore, is it?
Yeah.
Do we see colors?
What?
Do we see colors now?
Yeah, when they are talking about the ocean and the sun and the boardwalk is so credible, so nice, so descriptive that you can imagine the colors of the text of the scene.
It's very interesting because it's almost as if, just like the character in the story, we begin to lose the fact that we're watching a film. Like he seems to keep losing himself and he becomes part of the film. So now suddenly we're watching colors when we're not supposed to be. So we seem to be kind of more in his memory. And it's very vivid. So look at this word somersault. That's like when you watch the Olympics and you have the gymnast flipping head over heels. That's how the water is described. Green and white veins. I don't know about you, but I can really remember being at the beach and seeing the waves come up, and I can picture that. It's a kind of a strange description. But I don't know why this moment is intolerable. I'm not quite sure. I have no theories.
But I think it's related with the paragraph, the sentence before that, when she is seeing her the veins and the back so beautifully. When when she's seeing her father, I think, with this aspect, with torn eyes, is so difficult to tolerate. It could be, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about this memory maybe is intolerable. I'm not sure. So maybe there's something coming up. Something about this moment that he's seeing in his imagination, or whatever is going on. It's not that easy to understand, actually.
Yeah.
The prose is easy, but the situation is kind of surreal. All right, Shafar, why don't you take the next one, put it as well. Whoops, the end of section 3 here.
Okay. Let's see.
See where we are in blue?
Destined precisely the sun, actually driving full force downward against the sun, bouncing upward and at last petering out into a small stream which rushed up the beach and then is restless.
Wait, and then is wait, 2 words. Petering out means like slowly dissipating, disappearing, petering out.
Okay. Petering out to a small stream which rushes up the beach and then is recalled. My parents gazed absentmindedly at the ocean. Absentmindedly at the ocean. Scarcely interested in it or scarcely interested in its hers. The sun overhead doesn't disturb them. I stare at the terrible sun which breaks up sight, and the fatal, merciless, passionate ocean. I forgot my parents. I stare fascinated and finally shocked by the indifference of my father and my mother. I burst out in once more. The lady next to me patted me in the shoulder and said, "Brother, all of this is only a movie. Young man, only a movie." But I look up once more at terrifying ocean, and being unable to control my tears, I get up and go to the men's room, stumbling over the feet of the other people seated in my row.
Wait, other people seated in my row. Seated. All right. This is the second time that the story has been broken up into this moment where we're taken out of the film. So suddenly he's watching again, and again he's crying. Does anyone have any idea? What is going on? What is it about this scene? Because notice it says, okay, he's talking about the sun. The sun overhead does not disturb them. But I stare at the terrible sun which breaks up sight and the fatal, merciless, passionate ocean. Merciless, passionate ocean. I forget my parents. He's shocked by the indifference. He seems to be crying because his mother and father are not aware of something that he's aware of. It seems to have something to do with them and the scene that they're in, but they're not fully aware of it. That's my impression. What do you think?
But he's saying, I mean, he's considering the sun and the ocean to be terrifying, and he can't control his tears because of that.
Mm-hmm. But what would be terrifying about it?
I don't know. Something is shocking him a lot, but I don't know. He feels frustrated or something, or he's afraid of something that's going to come up. I don't know.
Would you go to see this movie if it were playing at the theater? I'm not sure if I'd go to see this one. Maybe
the second time he has broken down in tears?
Second time, that's right.
Okay then.
And the first time the old lady next to him told him to shut up. This time
okay.
all of this is only a movie. It seems to, and again, the last time we got the same description that he can't control what he's seeing, and somehow that affects him. So it has something to do with his memory, I think, if this is a
what
memory.
Does he call the ocean and the sun terrifying? What are they terrifying for him?
He says the merciless, passionate ocean, that part?
No, and he says terrifying sun, the terrifying ocean.
Oh, at the end, right. But I look once more at the terrifying sun, the terrifying ocean, and being unable to control my tears, I get up and go to the men's room. Right.
Why are they terrifying for him? Or to him?
I don't know, except that I just keep going back to this thing that he's watching and unable to participate. And the ocean I kind of understand, because the ocean has a strong, the ocean is a force.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it's passionate, but merciless I kind of understand. Like it could wipe everyone off the beach if it wanted to, right?
So what about the sun?
I don't know. I think it has something to do with him being helpless. It's terrifying because it's helpless. It reminds me of those old Ingmar Bergman movies or even Hitchcock a little bit, where the most horrible thing happens in broad daylight. And in the Bergman movies, it's always someone who can't move or is paralyzed, and it's in broad daylight. And he said, I remember that he said that he did that because in Sweden, the sun is out for almost 24 hours.
Summertime, yeah.
And so something in his nightmares, he would always have the bright sun in his nightmares. So he put it in the films. So it kind of reminds me of that, like this bright light that you can't get away from. I don't know, just guessing. Not sure.
Because, I would say I'm terrified of darkness. For me, it would be darkness, not the sun, not broad light.
I think sun is not direct reason for his weaving. First time and second time, behavior of his father, mother, made him weeping. First, ridiculous behavior or saying of his father moved him. And
upset him, maybe.
Upset him, and he was weeping. And second time, indifference of his father and mother toward sun striking made him weeping.
Okay.
So I think he very much critically treated his father's mother's date, his father's mother's behavior. So that made him weeping.
Okay, that's a good point. So we have to pay attention to what it is about their behavior that's affecting him so much. But I have a feeling there's something that we're missing in the description of things that we're about to find out.
But absolutely, there's something that's frightening him. That's why he's going to. That's why he broke down twice. We don't know yet, but
let's find out.
I can understand. Imagine when you see the film where your father and mother are dating with each other. Maybe you'll feel awkward very much. It is very emotional feeling, maybe struck you. So I can understand why protagonist of this story is crying.
But it's a cultural thing, because I think that not everyone is embarrassed by their parents. I think that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe it's a cultural thing too, because if I were in America, I wouldn't want to see anything about my parents when they were dating. That would be horrible. But now I live in a different culture, and I can't understand. I can't understand what the problem would be. It should be great, right? I mean, because hey, that's where I came from. I mean, I don't really know. So I think that you might be right in his culture and his time, and the behavior of the father, this particularly, right? Because they seem like stereotypes turn-of-the-century kind of stereotypes in a way. They're acting the way people acted at the time, and looking back, it seems very archaic. It's strange. So you may be right. Well, let's find out. I'm going to take the next section. Let me just see how much of the story we have. It's 4, 5. Oh, wow, it's short. Okay. Let me pick up these next 2 short paragraphs, and we'll go back to Carmen here. So follow along. When I return, feeling as if I had just awakened in the morning sick for lack of sleep. Several hours have already passed, and my parents are riding on the merry-go-round. My father is on a black horse, my mother on a white one. They seem to be making an eternal circuit for the single purpose of snatching the nickel rings which are attached to an arm of one of the posts. A hand organ is playing. It is one with the ceaseless circling of the merry-go-round. For a moment, it seems that they will never get off the merry-go-round because it will never stop. I feel like one who looks down on the avenue from the 50th story of a building. But at length, they do get off. Even the music of the hand organ has ceased for a moment. My father has acquired 10 rings, my mother only 2, although it was my mother who really wanted them. They walk along the boardwalk as the afternoon descends by imperceptible degrees into the incredible violet of dusk. Everything fades into a relaxed glow, even the ceaseless murmuring from the beach and the revolutions of the merry-go-round. They look for a place to have dinner. My father suggests the best one on the boardwalk, and my mother demurs in accordance with her principles. So, if you don't know New York, they're in Coney Island at the amusement park, and they're going around a merry-go-round. Does everyone know what a merry-go-round is?
No.
A merry-go-round is like a carousel, like a big wheel with little wooden horses that go up and down. Not real ones, of course. The horses are on the post, and as the wheel goes around, the horses go up and down, and you spin around. And there's kind of a game here where they have to grab these rings as they go past them. And if you get enough rings, you get a prize, or something like that. So it's one of the fairground attractions from the time. And she demurs. Do you know what that means? So he suggests one of the best restaurants on the boardwalk, and my mother demurs.
Denied. When
yeah, she thinks it's too whatever, too bold, too extravagant. She demurs. I'd rather not. Probably because of the money, or it's too flashy or something. I agree. All right, Carmen, let's pick it up with you. Oh, you've got a short one. Let me break up the next paragraph into 2 parts, perhaps. Wait 1 second. Here, I have to find a break. There's no break. Oh, no. All right, let's break it up here. It's not a good break, but I'm going to break it up here. So, Carmen, let's take these 2 paragraphs that I'm going to put in blue for you. Whoops. There you go. Can you pick it up from there? And then we'll go to Raphael after. Go ahead.
Okay. However, they do go to the best place, asking for a table near the window so they can look out. They can look out on the boardwalk and the mobile ocean. My father feels omnipotent, and he places a quarter in the waiter's hand, and he asks for a table. The place is crowded, and here too there is music. This time from a kind of string trio. My father orders dinner with a fine confidence. As the dinner is eaten, my father tells of his plans for the future, and my mother shows with expressive face how interested she is, and how impressed. My father becomes exultant. He is lifted up by the waltz that is being played, and his own future begins to intoxicate him. My father tells my mother that he's going to expand his business, for there is a great deal of money to be made. He wants to settle down. After all, he's 29. He has lived by himself since he was 13. He's making more and more money, and he's envious of his married friends he visits them in the cozy security of their homes. Surrounded, it seems, by the calm domestic pleasures and by delightful children. And then, as the waltz reaches the moment where all the dancers sing madly, then, with awful daring, then he asks my mother, to marry him, although awkwardly enough and puzzled, even in his excitement.
Keep going, Raphael.
And at how he had arrived at the proposal, and see, to make the whole business worse, begins to cry, and my father looks nervously about, not knowing at all what to do now, and my mother says, "It's all I've wanted for the moment I saw you," sobbing, and he finds all of this very difficult, scarcely to his state, scarcely as he had thought it could be.
As he had thought it could be.
As he had thought it could be, on his long walks of a Brooklyn bridge in the reverie of a fine cigar. And it was then that I stood up in the theater and shouted, "Don't do it. It's not too late to change your minds. Both of you. Nothing good will come of it. Only remorse, hatred, scandal, and 2 children whose characters are monstrous." The whole audience turned to look at me, annoyed. The usher came hurrying down the aisle, flashing his...
Wait. It looks like ISIL, but it's aisle. It looks like. We don't say the S. Aisle.
Aisle.
The aisle is the little corridor between the seats.
Aisle. Hurrying down the aisle, flashing his searchlight, and the old lady next to me tugged me down into my seat, saying, "Be quiet. You'll be put out, and you paid 35 cents to come in." And so I shut my eyes because I could not bear to see what was happening. I sat there quietly.
Oh, okay, I think we know the missing piece now.
But he knows what is going to come next, so he's afraid of it.
Shafar, let's pick it up here. Can you see where we are?
Okay. But after a while, I begin to take brief glimpses, and I watch again with interest. Like a child who wants to maintain his sulk, although offer the bribe of candy. My parents are now having their picture taken in the photographs booth along the boardwalk. The place is sewed in the mauve light, which is apparently necessary. The camera is set to set on its tripod and looks like a Martian. The photographer is instructing my parents in how to...
You should actually say photographer. Put the stress on second syllable. Photographer is instructing my parents.
The photographer is instructing my parents in how to pose. My father has his arm over my shoulder, and both of them smile emphatically. The photographer brings my mother a bouquet of flowers to hold in
a flower is French. Bouquet
of flowers to hold in her hand. But she held it the wrong angle. Then the photographer covered himself with the cloth which drapes the camera, and all the emphasis of him is one protruding arm, and his hand which is clutches the rubber ball, which he will squeeze when the picture is finally taken. But he's not satisfied with their appearance. He feels with certainty that somehow there's something more in their pose. Again and again he issues from his hidden place with new direction. It suggestively makes matters worse. My father is becoming impatient. They try set pause. The photographer explains that he has pride. He is not interested in all of this for the money. He wants to make beautiful pictures.
So no matter how he poses the parents, something isn't quite right. Interesting. Let's pick it up here, only because we're almost done and I want to make sure we have this done and then we can talk about it for the end of class. So go ahead, Yuki. Let's pick it up here.
Okay. My father says, hurry up, will you? We haven't got all night, but the photographer only.
Wait, photographer.
Photographer only scurries about apologically and issues new directions. The photographer charms me. I approve of him with all my heart, for I know just how he feels, and as he criticizes each revised pose according to some unknown idea of rightness, I became quite hopeful. But then my father says angrily, "Come on, you've had enough time. You are not going to wait any longer." And the photographer, signing unhappily, goes back into the black covering and folds out his hands, says, 1, 2, 3, now. And the picture is taken, with my father's smile turned to grimace, and my mother's bright and false. It takes a few minutes for a picture to be developed, and as my parents sit in the curious light, they become quite depressed.
So, all of that work, and how did the picture turn out?
Yes.
What do you think? Good picture? Bad picture? Because his smile. Where's the line here? 1, 2, 3. Now the picture is taken with my father's smile turned into a grimace. What is a grimace?
I think it's a bad picture. Yes.
Grimace. It's not a smile. It's a grimace.
Not smiling.
Like if you have pain, your face has the grimace. So it seems to be a very telling moment, right? Because this seems to suggest something about how their future is going to be as well. Okay, we're on the last part of the story. I'm just going to take this next part, and then we'll talk about it. They have passed a fortune teller's booth. This is part 6. They've passed a fortune teller's booth that my mother wishes to go in, but my father does not. They begin to argue about it. My mother becomes stubborn. My father once more impatient, and then they begin. My father once more impatient, and then they begin to quarrel. What my father would like to do is walk off and leave my mother there, but he knows that would never do. My mother refuses to budge. She is near to tears. But she feels an uncontrollable desire to hear what the palm reader will say. My father consents angrily, and they both go into a booth, which is in a way like the photographer's, since it is draped in black cloth, and its light is shadowed. The place is too warm, and my father keeps saying this is all nonsense, pointing to the crystal ball on the table. The fortune teller A fat, short woman, garbed in what is supposed to be Oriental robes, comes into the room from the back and greets them, speaking with an accent. But suddenly my father feels that the whole thing is intolerable. He tugs at my mother's arm, but my mother refuses to budge, and then, in terrible anger, my father lets go of my mother's arm and strides out, leaving my mother stunned. Carmen, what happens next? Let's try that again. Carmen?
Oh, sorry.
What happens next?
Okay. She moves to go after my father, but the fortune teller holds her arm tightly and begs her not to do so. And in my seat, I'm shocked more than can ever be said, for I feel as if I were walking a tightrope 100 feet over a circus audience, and suddenly the rope is showing signs of breaking. Sorry. And I get up from my seat and begin to shout once more the first words I can think of to communicate my terrible fear, and once more the usher comes hurrying down the aisle, flashing his
the aisle.
The aisle, flashing his searchlight, and the old lady pleads with me, and the shocked audience has turned to stare at me, and I keep shouting, "What are they doing? Do they know that what they're doing? Why doesn't my mother go after my father? If she does not do that, what will she do? Doesn't my father know what he's doing?" But the usher has seized my arm and is dragging me away. And as he does so, he says, "What are you doing? Don't you know you can do whatever you want to do? Why should a young man like you, with your whole life before you, get hysterical like this? Why don't you think of what you're doing? You can act like this even if other people aren't around. You will be sorry you will be sorry if you do not do what you should do. You can't carry on like this. It's not right. You will find that out soon enough. Everything you do matters too much." And he said that, dragging me through the lobby of the theater into the cold night. And I woke up in the bleak winter morning on my 21st birthday, the windows still shining with a sleep of snow, and the morning already begun. See the end of it.
Very interesting story. Yes.
So he was dreaming.
I don't know. Apparently. What do you think? What do you think about that ending?
It's a message to protagonist of this story, not only to us. It is message is simple. Live your own life, not in others' life.
Is that it?
I think so. Usher said that you will be sorry if you do not do what you should do. You can't carry on like this. It's not right. So in this story, protagonist of this story always anxious about his father's, mother's behavior, and he's very moved by this and upset and weeping. But all he have to do is thinking about his own life, his own future, because he is still young. Such a message, no?
So it's a morality tale in a sense. Mm-hmm. It's about doing the right thing and learning from the past. It's a premonition. Is that it? That's the idea.
It's the idea.
But what about this?
But it is good that you learn from your own past. But in this story, he is always always worrying about his father's mother's behavior and critically very emotional, very criticize them. That's not what he have to do. I think so.
Well, there's one other thing. First of all, how old is the protagonist in the story? The narrator, the one who we're seeing the story through. How old is
young?
He? How
21.
old is he? He's 21. How old is his father?
Now or in this film?
Well, we don't know now, but in the film, how old is his father?
29, I think.
He's 29. Right. So he's 21. His father is 29. We don't know about the mother, do we? I guess we don't know. How important do you think that those numbers are? Oh, and what year does the film take place? Remember, in the beginning, I think it says 1909.
1909.
Okay, so we've got two nines, a 29 and a 1909. We've got a 21. I think there's even another date earlier in the story. I can't remember. In the very, very beginning. It's June. It's June
12th.
Yeah.
June 12th.
June 12th, because that reminded me of Joyce's Bloomsday, June 16th, 1904, I think it was. It just reminds me of that. I know it's nothing to do with Joyce, but that date, why is that date so important? How important do you think numbers and dates are in the story so far? Why do we need to know that it's 1909? Why do we need to know that it's June 12th? Look, June 12th is the opposite of 21. It's 1-2, not 2-1. So there's a kind of. Do you think it has some significance?
I can't feel something mystery.
Yeah, it must be something in there, but I cannot find it.
Does it feel? How does it feel to encounter these numbers in the beginning? These very specific numbers and dates. Does it raise a question in your mind? Because for me, it seems so important that it's the first thing that we see. It must be important.
Yeah.
The only thing that comes to my mind is that it's 12, and at the end we encounter a 21. The reality now. So it's like an opposite. It's like being on the other side of the mirror. That's the only thing that comes to my mind. And then there's a 1909, and the father is 29. There's just a connection. I don't really know why the connection with the nines, but it seems important in some way. Not really sure. So that's one thing I was going to say. It just comes to my mind. And I think I had another idea here floating around. Lost my idea. Yes, I can't remember. Oh, yes, I remember. How does our protagonist feel about himself? Because isn't there a kind of back to the future moment? Remember, Yuki, you were saying, think about Back to the Future. Isn't there a kind of Back to the Future moment where he's begging his parents not to marry each other, which means that he will not exist?
Yes.
Is there some irony in that?
Yes, it sounds very ironically.
How does he feel about himself?
Because he doesn't want to live. I mean, there's something wrong with him. So it's like he would like to be dead.
And
so
not
he
just
wants to be dead.
Not just him, because he's got a brother or sister too.
A brother, but the brother passed away a long time ago.
No, that's his uncle.
That was in the. Okay.
But he's got a brother, just like his father had a brother. He's got a brother. And they're both monstrous. Remember, he describes the children of these people who are him and his brother, who the children as monstrous. That means that he's describing himself as monstrous in some way. I don't know what way, but in some way, because he's begging them not to get together.
Yeah, and don't forget the uncle passed when 21 years ago.
Ah,
the same
right,
age
right,
as
right, right.
Sasha
Again,
now.
yes, you see, I'm not crazy. There's a reason for this. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason. So again, 21, you're absolutely right. 21 years ago.
Oh.
It can't be a coincidence. It can't be.
But how can we know what's wrong with the numbers?
His uncle has died, and he's now 21.
I would highly suggest reading the Kabbalah. That's my feeling. There's got to be a reason. I don't know. And then we've got the fortune teller as well. There's a lot of parallels in the story, and a lot of them are quite simple and easy to understand. Like the old time photographer in the dark room, and the fortune teller in the dark room. And the irony is that the photographer portends more to the future than the future teller, the fortune teller. The picture that we see is just as much a telling of the future, right? Because it's preserved forever. So it's like a film inside of a film, right? Because you've got this picture, and the guy's impatient. So when they take the picture, the father's impatient. Obviously, she looks false. He looks angry, and it's sort of this vision of what's the future is going to be like. So it's again this parallel to another part of the story. Do we see the future with the future teller? Only through his actions, but just because he leaves, and maybe that's what's coming up as well. So it seems like the photographer is a weird reversal. The photographer is more of a fortune teller than the fortune teller is. It's an interesting moment.
Fortune teller predict his father's mother's fate, but already protagonist of this story know the future of his father's mother. So it means we can say that protagonist of this story is a future teller.
Well, I don't know if he is a fortune teller. I don't know, but I think the main thing is that he seems to be strangely wishing for his own non-existence, and he wakes up at 21, knowing that 21 years earlier his uncle died, and whatever the other 21 is, I forgot. And he wakes up.
Because he was the 12th of June. It was the other way around. 12 instead of 21.
Right. And he's waking up in the winter, on his 21st birthday, in the middle of snow, and it's bleak. This is his 21st birthday, in the middle of winter on a bleak day. He's not waking up with rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns. He's waking up in the middle of a bleak winter on his 21st birthday.
So does it mean he's going to die on that day, something?
You think so?
I don't know.
I don't think so. He became adult now. 21 old is enough age to be thought as an adult.
At the time the story was written, it may have been the legal age of adulthood. Yes, it changed to 18, but at the time it might have been.
It was 20. Yeah, it was 21 at that time, I think.
Yeah.
And he feels very awkward and irritated when he saw the film. Why he's irritated? Why he's upset when he sees the behavior of his father's mother's young day? I think it is a common feeling among young people, very critically treating his father's mother. But now he's adult, he cannot deny his father's mother's life because of his father's mother's existence, he also exists. So very paradoxical situation. He can criticize his father's mother, but he exists because of his father's mother. So when I read this story, I feel very similar feeling. I have a very similar feeling to this young man.
You wish for your own non-existence? I hope not, Yuki.
No, I don't mean that. When I was young, I also very feel criticized. I also very how to say critically. I thought about my father's mother, but now I'm such an age as a father's mother.
So. It's funny because I keep thinking of these Bergman films because it seems very Bergman-like to me. This story, and particularly Winterlight, because of the ending of the film, it reminds me of the feeling that movie was supposed to have. That's an old film from like 1960, I think. But also, as Bergman got older, he kept going more and more into the past, his own biographical past. And the last big film that he did was about his parents after they were married. It was this big epic film. It was directed by someone else because he had retired, called The Best Intentions. And it reminds me of like a little mini Bergman film where this guy is trying to come to terms with his true self by going before he was born and trying to understand the circumstance which led to him and his life. It seems like a kind of reckoning of some kind. So it very much reminds me of those Bergman films. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Listen, I've got to start the next class because I'm 9 minutes late. I've got to switch. But I'll tell you what. On the next short story class, think about this. Think about it. We can come up with our final whatever we surmise. Yeah. Let's think about it for a few days.
Okay.
We'll be starting a new story, but we can start the class by giving our final theories about what the story is telling us, what it means, and what the parallels mean, like the fact that it starts in June and ends on a winter day, like it's the 12th and it ends on someone's 21st birthday, and some of those other aspects. Okay, so think about it, and we'll talk on Thursday at the same time, 10 GMT. Okay, and maybe I'll have a few more details for you because it's as interesting what isn't said as what is said in this story. I'll be back in just a minute for the business class. Okay, so think about that, and see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
See you.